Okay, we are live. Good afternoon, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, wherever you are streaming from. Good afternoon to you. It's close to evening, so good afternoon and good evening, depending on where you are tuning in from. Oh my gosh, I got a lot of good tea on the ERC. Oh my gosh. I'm going to wait before I start. For those of you who don't know who I am, I'm Melinda Tolbert. I am an IRS agent, enrolled agent with MJ Tax Relief Group right here in Columbus, Georgia. We are the only tax resolution firm, the only local tax resolution firm that help business owners resolve their tax issues. Today is all about business owners. It's all about the employee retention credit fraud, criminal charges, civil charges. The IRS issued guidance today on what those business owners that aren't sure if they qualify or not, what they can do to withdraw the ERC returns that were filed. I got a lot of good stuff to show to talk to y'all about today. It's been a minute. Let me see. I got a lot of notes because I did not want to miss anything. And I'm working alone this evening trying to get this information out to y'all. So please bear with me if I have any type of technical difficulties. Let's see. Has anyone joined? Okay, we got about 10 people on. I guess I'll go ahead and get started. It's 5:45 Eastern Standard Time. Today is Thursday, October 19th. So I'm gonna jump right into it. Last month in September of 2023, there were a large volume of questionable ERC claims. And ERC means employee retention credit. I'm not going to say the whole word. So when you hear me say ERC, that's what I'm talking about. There were a heavy volume of questionable ERC claims filed, which led the IRS to release a message on their website. The message stated, effective immediately, the IRS is putting on putting a hold on the processing of the new ERC claims. Well, today they made another announcement, and that announcement said today the IRS announced new ERC withdrawal procedures for taxpayers. That will be you if you're a business owner who filed the ERC claim and are concerned about whether you actually qualify. The withdrawal procedures are in response to the IRS concerns about aggressive marketers and promoters, and that's just companies that are advertising. I know you've seen, I can get you approved for ERC within minutes, and that's what they're talking about. That's not true. If you see any of those type of messages, that's a red flag for you to run the other way. So what is ERC? If you are a business owner and you're not aware what ERC is, in March of 2020, the Coronavirus Aid Relief enacted the CARES Act, and that was in March of 2020. So the employee retention credit it's a refundable credit, and it's available to employers against employment taxes. It applies to forms 941, 943, 944, and CT1. Well, the goal was to incentivize businesses for retaining employees on their payrolls during COVID. The IRS also wanted to provide payroll relief to help sustain businesses during the pandemic. That was back when the PPP loan and all other kind of scams that was going on. Well, the ERC scam is way, way, way worse than the PPP scam. The ERC is number one on the top of top of the list of the IRS's Dirty Dozen list. If you're not aware, or if you don't know what that list is, I'll share a video. I've talked about that Dirty Dozen list all the time. And what else do I have? Okay, I told you what it was. Who qualifies? So, first and foremost, you have to be a business owner with employees to qualify. That's number one. And that's going to knock a lot of people out of the qualifications because people with no employees or have gotten a check based on a fraudulent return submitted by the promoters that I just mentioned. So the eligible employer types is an employer carrying on a trade or a business, tax exempt employer, they're qualified, and tribal entities carrying on trade or a business. If you are a governmental employer for 2020 and most of 2021, you do not qualify. Any household employers do not qualify. What's the eligibility requirements? I'm gonna give some brief info on what makes a business eligible, so you'll understand where you lie, and I'll explain that in a minute. So to be eligible during the applicable periods of eligibility, generally certain employers must have met one or the following conditions. So there's three conditions. You only have to have met one. The first one is you would have had to be fully or partially suspended your operations due to COVID-19. And it was a COVID-19 government order. Or if you had a decline in your gross receipts. And that means if, let's say in 2019, you grossed $100,000, but in 2020, you grossed $50,000. So that's the decline in your gross receipts. The third eligibility requirement is for quarters 3 and quarter 4. If you met the definition of a recovery startup business, you qualify as well. I'm not going to touch on that anymore because I have a whole lot to cover, and I want to make sure you all are aware of the criminal and civil penalties that you can be charged with attached to this ERC. So if you were if you were a eligible business owner, you could have gotten a maximum of up to $5,000 per employee. And that was for March 13th of 2020 through December 31st of 2020. Now, in 2021, for the 2021 tax year, you could have gotten up to $7,000 per employee per quarter. So if there's 4 quarters in a year, in 2021, you could have gotten up to $7,000 per employee per quarter. That equals a lot of damn money. And this is how people are getting a whole lot of money from this ERC. So if you if you got the PPP loan and your loan was not forgiven, then you were still eligible to get the ERC. I'll read you what they have here. It says eligible employers who receive the PPP loans are also allowed to report and claim the ERC to the extent that the first and second draw of the PPP loans have not been forgiven during the covered period. So make sure you remember that. Okay. Okay. I'm not going to talk about that. I have a lot of notes. I want to touch on the report, the ERC unit that was just formed. Many units within the government, within the IRS, are collaborating to identify ERC fraud. The unit is called RICS. It's the RICS unit. RICS means Return Integrity and Compliance Services Unit. They put filters in place to identify questionable tax returns reporting the ERC based on the data that is input on the tax return. And it can be referred to criminal investigation if that data doesn't make sense to them. Red flags. Let me make sure I covered all this before I jump into the red flags that I want you all to be aware of. Yep. Okay, red flags. Number one, there's 3 red flags that I want to talk about. And the first one is a fictitious business. These are flagged as highly questionable returns. And what it is just the promoters and the marketers, they're making up businesses, and the Internal Revenue Service, when they do their investigation, they find out that the business doesn't even exist. 941 returns are filed when the business was not in business, is what I want you to remember. So if you know you ain't have no business and you filed 941s, your return is going to be flagged as highly questionable. If the business owner didn't have any cash flow, or if you can't show that you paid wages that you reported on the fraudulent return that was submitted, that's going to be flagged as highly questionable. The last one is, what they've been noticing is people have been filing the ERC returns with the same business name, because they know that the way they receive the funding is a check in the mail. They've been filing the same business name with different addresses, and unfortunately, the IRS have been releasing and mailing out those checks to those fictitious businesses. So y'all keep that in mind as well. Another thing that I wanted you to know is the IRS is hip to businesses that haven't filed any payroll tax returns, and they are suddenly starting to file the employment tax returns so they can qualify to get the ERC. That is being flagged as highly questionable. So if your business has been laying dormant and you haven't filed a tax return since, let's say you haven't filed a tax return since 2018, and now all of a sudden you are filing employment tax returns for 2019, 2020, and 2021 to become eligible for ERC, those are being flagged as highly questionable. Let's see what else I had. Oh, and the returns that are reporting inflated and false information. For instance, if you are a business and maybe you do qualify for the ERC, but the numbers that are put on the returns are inflated, meaning if you only paid $50,000 in payroll taxes, but on the return you put that you paid $100,000 in payroll taxes, highly questionable, and it's going to be flagged. Some preparers are under criminal and civil investigation for assisting employers in filing the fraudulent returns. And the IRS is, they're working on releasing guidance to help those employers that were misled into claiming an ERC return. And you've already received the payment. So if you're not sure if what you received was what you were supposed to receive, then they have not released any guidance yet outside of filing an amendment. But I'll keep you posted. Give me a call if you need assistance in trying to figure out if the ERC payment that you received was what you were supposed to receive. And I can assist you with doing an amendment or representing you however I can to help you get those funds back if you got what you were not supposed to get. Let me make sure I have covered everything. Oh, let's talk about the consequences. This is why I really went live, because I want all business owners and tax preparers, if you're assisting businesses in getting these ERC this ERC money, there's consequences to fraudulent claims. Um, let me see what I have here. Audits. If you are selected for an audit, you'll have to submit supporting documentations, such as bank records and your books and records, showing that what was used to determine your eligibility for the claim was actually legal and it wasn't made up. So if you receive an audit letter in the mail, be prepared to submit those documents. Um, Criminal charges that you can get, I'm going to read what I have here. So the IRS is pursuing criminal charges, Title 26, Section 72. If there are erroneous refund as an underpayment of the employment tax, as well as employment as imposing penalties, including the fraud penalty on the underpayment. I can't even talk, under the underpayment. There will be criminal charges pursued, including two, but not limited to: number one, under Section 26 USC 72061, and that charge is fraud and false statements, declaring, and penalties under perjury. Section 26 USC 7602, aiding and assisting the preparation of a false or fraudulent document. If you put some incorrect information and you submitted it, that's a criminal charge. Another criminal charge is 18 USC 287, false or fictitious fraudulent claims, as well as false statements under 18 USC 1001. All of those are some of the criminal charges that you can receive, either the tax preparer or the taxpayer, or both. If the IRS can prove that the taxpayer knew what was going on, you both can be charged with those criminal charges. Let's see what else I got time for. Let's talk about the civil charges. Mm, Promoters, which would be the person that's advertising about the ERC, could face civil penalties such as 6694, which is an understatement penalty for an unreasonable position or for willfulness or reckless conduct. 6700, that's for promoting abuse of tax shelters, or a penalty under Section 6701, which is again aiding and abetting an understatement of tax liability. Now, for tax preparers for the criminal charges, let me see. If you are a promoter that's overselling the right to claim the ERC, you can be charged criminally as well. And some of those charges I wrote: assisting taxpayers, charging large upfront fees or contingent fees based on the amount of the ERC. The criminal charges could be 7206, which is aiding and assisting the preparation of a false return. Also, Section 18 USC Section 286, which is conspiracy to defraud, and 18 USC 371, which is conspiracy to commit an offense or to defraud the United States. 6700, that's promoting abuse tax shelter. That's a civil penalty that a preparer can get, or penalty under 6701, which is again aiding and abetting an understatement of tax liability. So be aware, if you are the tax preparer or the taxpayer, be aware of the civil and criminal charges that you can get. I'm just trying to make sure that I have covered everything because I feel like I'm missing something. Yeah, so be aware. This ERC is way more serious than the PPP loan because it's dealing with employment taxes. I'm a payroll tax relief expert, so I know everything there is to know about payroll tax, including this ERC fraud. The government gets over 70% of their income from payroll. So they're not going to be as lenient with the I don't want to say too much, but just know that in all honesty, like it's serious, y'all. I've heard of certain individuals getting this ERC check in the mail because they don't deposit this in your bank account. They send it in the mail. I know of people that have gotten over $500,000 and have not had not one employee. So tread lightly. When the government does their investigation, they're gonna investigate everybody connect to you. They're gonna look at your social media posts. And that's another thing. People that are getting this ERC fraudulently are posting it on social media. That's evidence that can be used against you. Even if you're related to someone, got it. They're gonna investigate everybody. So y'all just be careful with these scams. And if you know me, you know I call them a government setup for a lot of people because people just see money and they don't think about the consequences that comes with it. A lot of y'all got kids; those kids gonna be displaced, and it's just not worth it. The PPP loan, they're still doing a lot of arrests, indictments, and investigation under that. But I'm telling you, this ERC is dealing with y'all messing with the government money. PPP loan too, but ERC, that's dealing with payroll tax. That's how the government eats. So take that into consideration. Don't be submitting these fake returns. They are hip to everything that y'all are trying to do already. Um, they got the whistleblowing again that they had for the PPP loan. They have the same thing for the ERC. A whistleblower is basically a snitch. If somebody know that you got this ERC loan fraudulently, they can be compensated for turning you in. So y'all just be mindful and be aware when y'all are doing these scams and especially reporting it on social media. Like that's just crazy. Y'all are setting y'allself up. So that's all I have. Let me see if I have any questions about this ERC. If I haven't already told you, if you need someone to overlook your ERC return, look over your payroll tax, your 940s and your 941s to make sure that you receive the amount that you were supposed to receive. Give me a call, 706 507 2481. You can schedule a consultation online at www.mjtax.com. My name is Melinda Tolbert. I'm the owner of MJ Tax Relief Group. Um, that's all I have. I don't see any questions on Facebook. Let me check my YouTube. Hey, how you doing? Girl, I miss you so much. We gotta connect. Yeah, they not gonna do right. And I be trying to help y'all out and give y'all the info on what the government know and to try to help y'all understand that you cannot outsmart the government. I promise you, you cannot. You can't hide no money for them. You can't hide any assets from them. You can't. Money laundering. Speaking of money, I have a money laundering masterclass that will be live in person at the Columbus Library on Macon Road on November 14th. If you're a business owner and you accept payments over $10,000, you need to be there because there are reporting requirements that you have and that you need to know about. If you are a tax professional and you're in need of a WISP, this is the new written security plan that you have to renew your P10. I'll also be giving out templates, a free template for you to have your WISP. What else are we talking about? We're talking about a lot, basically on money laundering, and I'm giving out updates for tax professionals to stay compliant with their security. And November 11th and November 12th, I'll be in Atlanta at the Women's Expo, at the largest women's expo in the United States. It'll be at the World Congress Center. I'll be there. I'll speak on November 11th. November 11th, I'll be talking about how the government finds your hidden income and assets. And on November the 12th, I'll be talking about criminal investigation. Things that your tax preparer put on your tax return can lead to criminal investigation. I'm going to be spilling a lot of tea on things to be looking out for on your tax return to make sure that you won't be thrown into a criminal investigation because of what your tax preparer has put on your return. The IRS, they're not lenient anymore with taxpayers saying, well, I didn't know, I didn't do my taxes. That's why I hired a tax preparer. No, they don't care about that anymore. Now they're telling you, once you sign that tax return, you're signing saying that you agree to everything that is put on that tax return. So no more saying that I didn't know. They don't care about that. So that's not going to get you off not knowing. So I'm going to be giving out some information to make sure that you all are aware and make sure you understand how to read your tax return so you can stay out of trouble. That's all I have. One more check. LinkedIn, Facebook. All right. I don't see any questions. So that's it for now. That's my tax tea for this week. I don't have a set time that I go live because my schedule is so busy. I go live when I can, but I at least try to make sure I go live at least once a week to give you all some tax tea and give you some updates on what's going on in the tax industry. I don't know the time. I don't know the day yet. Give me a minute. After November 8th, I'll have a more lenient schedule, and I'll be able to give you all a heads up. All right. Well, thank y'all for tuning in. I appreciate y'all. Y'all be safe out there. Stay out of trouble. Make sure you tune in weekly to my tax tea. Peace.